I recently bought a Panasonic S5 and I have been on a quest to figure out the cheapest lenses that I can put on the S5 and still get great quality cinematic looking footage. I've got two GH5s, but the S5 I wanted to use as my creative camera, my cinema camera, so to speak. The stuff that I do all of the interesting, creative, artsy stuff. Without knowing anything about the lenses and the size of the full frame sensor and how it related to the kind of lenses that I have been using and want to use, when I bought the S5, I needed at least one L-mount lens. So I bought the Meike 50mm f1.7 for around about $100. Great lens, but I quickly discovered that it had a very similar focal range to my Helios 44M. I made a mistake when I bought it. I thought it was a 44-2, turned out to be a 44M. They're really similar. It's not the end of the world. It's still a great lens and it looks good. But for artsy shots, for creative shots, for shots where I'm looking for a very shallow depth of field and an image that is nice and soft, not too sharp, not too soft, you know, I discovered that these two are really, really similar, so I needed to test them. But before I tested them properly, I needed to wait until a Comlight Smart adapter arrived in the post. The reason for that is that I wanted to compare one of my favorite lenses, which is the Yongnuo 50mm. Another cheap lens, but great, f1.8. These are all shallow depth of field, 50mm-ish type focal lengths. These are both manual aperture control, so a dumb adapter was fine. But this Yongnuo is a Canon fit lens and it needs a smart adapter to plug onto the S5 in order to be able to control the aperture. Okay, full disclosure, I screwed up. Firstly, spoiler alert, I ended up sending the Meike back. Before I sent it back, I did the test, right? I left the Panasonic S5 on APS-C crop mode instead of full frame when I did the test. Now it doesn't matter because what I really wanted to compare was a dedicated L-mount lens, 50mm, to a Canon EF lens, 50mm, to the Helios 44M to whatever you have. And I got that comparison nailed. So the comparison still stands. But it's just frustrating that I left the camera in APS-C mode. And it's worth noting that that is one of the things to watch out for with the S5. It's actually a really handy feature to be able to crop from full frame to APS-C without any meaningful loss of quality. Maybe, yeah, there's some, but not that it needs to stop you from using it. But the problem is you got to remember whether you've got it on APS-C or not. So first I've got my old trusty Yongnuo 50mm prime. Really I'm just looking at the width, see how much is fitting into this. I've just put the Meike on the S5 and I got no, lens is not attached properly. Do not push lens release button while lens is attached. Okay, wriggled the Meike around a little bit and it's connected. Now this is the L mount, so this one should be the one that connects best of all. Now of course it's a manual aperture, so I need to set that aperture. Not a fan of the positioning of the focus ring on this Meike lens. It's quite far back. I would rather it was the other way around. I'd rather the focus ring was at the front and that the aperture ring was at the back. The ring that I'm reaching for instinctively is at the front to focus. It's already a small lens, so you're finding yourself fiddling around quite close to the camera, trying to find the focal ring. So if I'm honest, yeah, I'd rather that the focal ring was further forwards. I love the fact that it's a tiny compact lens, but I don't love the fact that it's fiddly to handle. Focusing is a thing that you do far more often than changing the aperture. So the final lens in all this is the Helios 44-2. Great lens. Now of course the crop is tighter. Weirdly, oh, come on man. Why can't I get any aperture control on this thing? What am I missing? Manual, okay. There's a little switch on the side for manual control of the aperture ring. I don't use this lens very often. It's cute, but I don't get to use it. Now the rain's coming. All right, so here it is, the Helios 44M. It's a little tighter, it's a 58mm lens rather than a 50mm. But what I'm really asking is, do I really need the Meike? Given that I've got my Yongnuo that I really like, cheap and trashy as though it is, I get great results. And the Helios, which is giving me a really similar focal length. If I want something artsy, I kind of got them. I think that'll do. It's drizzling, time to go.